Hey everybody, today we are looking at installing the two pilot fog lights here. These are the ones that kind of turn yellow, you know, when you got the lens makes them yellow looking. Anyway, it's a real clean install. I can get to the bracket later. Some of the problems I had, which was amazing, I couldn't find a lot on the internet about this. I decided to pull my power off the alternator right here. Right, and so anytime you're working, of course you're supposed to disconnect your batteries first, but there's a nice place to hook up for my power supply. Put an inline fuse in right here. Well, of course, when you're tightening the nut down, I touched out here and shorted everything out. So it's like, daggone it, well, this was the easiest place I could find to hook up at this point for power. Well, in shorting that out, it shorted, I mean, everything. Nothing worked in the truck, zero. And I'm freaked out until I start reading around, and it's difficult to find, but yeah, they've got some major fuses on these Duramaxes over here in the secondary battery. Actually, this is the primary battery on the right side of the truck, and underneath this lid are the fuses, big fuses. So in order to get the lid off, of course, start at the back side here, put your screwdriver in there and kind of pry the edge in so you can get it up, and it'll just pop off of here, and then go ahead and just lift it off out of here. So I thought I'd show you exactly what I did. So you'll see that the battery comes over here, and this supplies all the power to this piece of sheet metal right here. It runs all the way over to here. And there are some fuses. These are all fusible links in here. It's 100 amp, 60 amp, 60 amp, 175, 125, 175. I don't know what the heck that, oh, that's just a solid one going over there. Anyway, so this is the one I blew because that goes over to the other side of the truck. So here's the way this junction works. And you know what, frankly, you could use this, you know, if you had a bigger piece of metal here, you could put multiples on here probably and feed every one of these things if you had the right piece of metal here. So this little junction anyway, this is the fuse, and then this is the piece I made. Just goes on here like this. See the nut? I didn't loosen anything up here. Goes around here like this. And what I've done is also, I noticed that it wasn't quite, this nut's a little higher than that one. So the first thing I do is put on a couple of washers, space it up a little bit higher. And then it also gives a good gripping surface for all the other metal, you know, around it. And go ahead and put another one on here to grip that really well. Like that. And then a nice big nut here to grip this one over here. Get a good grip between the nut head and that one there. And just tighten them down. You know, really they don't have to be all that tight, but I'm just using this crescent wrench because it's simple. And that's it. And here are your primary fuses. Now, what I've done is I've already jumpered, because what I did was blow this wire here, goes over to the alternator. This is a fuse right underneath here, right there. Well, there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 fuses here. This is your main battery supply that are all in one piece of metal. Okay, this is $80 to replace this, and they call it a distribution box. This one here is the one that goes over to the fuse panel over there on that side of the truck. It supplies the power for everything else. That's why it quit working totally. So my fix to bridge this fuse right here that blew is a 175. Let's see if I get a picture of that. 175 amp mega little fuse. And it worked out kind of nice because I just added a nut on here. It's a metric nut, by the way, and clamped down the copper end of the fuse right on top of the existing nut that used to be here, right? It's just clamped on top. Then I made this piece of, I know it's kind of ghetto, you guys, this copper strip. This is actually from a piece of flattened, I cut a 3/4 inch piece of copper pipe in two lengthwise, flattened it out. That gave me a nice thick piece of sheet metal to work with, copper. And then I just cut it 3/4 inch wide, same width as the ends on the fuse. Put a 1/4 inch hole in it, bolted this thing together nice and tight with a couple washers to make sure I got good contact. And then over here on this side, I connected it straight across, just like it would be normally. And here again, I just put a nut on top of everything else. So it's all stacked up on here. In fact, I may take it off and give you another shot of that. But anyway, this was a big deal to try and figure out. I couldn't find anything on the net about what they call that thing. I don't know if they want you in here or whatever. But that is the distribution box on the right-hand side of the truck. And these are like all over 100 amp fuses right here. This whole box, 80 bucks again. This fuse, $5. All right, so let's go back over here. There may have been a better place to get power from. That's here on this side. Look at this thing. So this little cover goes on here, right? You can pry it off. And they've got this beautiful slot. I can look up on the internet, but there's probably something you can add in here that would maybe work a lot better for a common power supply for anything you want to drive. Lights, woofers, whatever you want. Anyway, this looks like a beautiful spot to connect on right here. Most cars don't have this, but you know, you've got it here on the Chevy Duramax. So that's one of the tips to start out with. I'll get into the bracket later on down below. So that's it for now. All right, so what do we tap into for those fog lights? Well, I wanted them to work in conjunction with the factory fog lights. And this is the plug here, right behind the air dam on the right-hand side. I tied into, it looks like the brown wire, okay? It comes on when you turn the fog lights on. It powers it up. And so that black wire on the left side runs out to the relay. And then, of course, your 12 volt runs to the other side of the relay that connects them all. The plug happens to be, it looks like the third wire over on the top of that plug right there. So get yourself your probe, stick it in there, turn your lights on and off, figure out which wire it is to make sure. And then that's what I tied into for to work with the fog lights. Once again, and these are the Pilot fog lights. It's a really clean install. There's my bracket, but you see you don't hardly see any of it out here. And by the way, this hole here, I spray painted the radiator black so you don't see it so much. This hole is a beautiful footstep so that you can get up here and look in the engine or wash the hood or whatever you want to do. Anyway, there's a couple of, here's my relay. I haven't finished wiring this up yet. There's a couple of holes. I don't know if you can see it right through there. There's a bolt right there. Okay, back in the back. You can kind of see it. Let's see if I can get better light on it. Anyway, that's where I mounted this whole thing to, right in the back there. Okay, and this bracket's up above. It's made out of 1-inch angle iron with the tab sticking down. I welded it to give you a place to securely mount these things. It's nice and rigid. Let's see, there's the other one over there. Those are your two. It actually is the slot in there. So that gives you a really nice rigid place to mount those lights. And it looks nice and clean. All right, so let's take a look at the operation. We'll turn the ignition on. Okay, there's the headlights on. The fog lights on. There's the high beams on. High beams off. They put out a nice, let's see if I can get a color on there. Yeah, they're a nice yellow color, see? Those lenses really do nice versus the, you know, the regular fog light over here. Kind of a white. Those give a nice, I like the yellow because they kind of pierce the fog. I'm going to turn everything off. Back on auto there. Ignition off. So that's my little fog light project. Hope you enjoyed it.